Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of ReAccess Live, a live event occurring right here every Tuesday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be sure to follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter for more information on using ReAccess as your no-code development platform. My name is Danny, and I'm a senior business analyst on the ReAccess team, and I will be your host for today's events. Just a few reminders before we dive into today's topic. For those who are new to ReAccess Live, ReAccess is now available for entrepreneurs and small businesses. We have a new website to support the no-code community at myreaccess.com, and we support the Build in Public initiative. Our mission is to empower citizen developers and grow the no-code community. For today's topic, we are going to create a blank app, or an application from our blank app template. For today's demo, I've decided to create a class registration application. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I've already logged in here and I am on the new templates page. I'm going to start off by selecting the blank template. And this class. And go ahead and save. All right, so as I already created our blank template for our class registration application. So to go ahead and start building this out, I'm going to go into my app builder. Okay, so here we are on the home page of the app builder. I'm just going to add a couple tags here and save that. All right, so I'm going to start off by adding a form. We are going to add a student's form. Okay. I'm also going to add a All right, so going to start off with my students. We're going to add just a few fields here. We're going to do first start off with a student ID. And I want this to be an auto-generated field. I don't have any tabs here yet, so we're going to just create one real quick. Now we can select that. And we'll go ahead and place our first field. We'll go back to students and add another field. And this is just going to be a text field for the first name. We'll put it on the same tab, just in a different place. And we'll add a last name field. Okay, and then I want to add two more fields here. I want to add a phone number. Go ahead. The second row. And I want to include a business rule for formatting for a US phone number. And my last field, I'm going to add email address. Here we have a built-in field type for email address so that it'll validate on entry. Oh, I actually need to put that one because I almost overlapped the email and phone number fields. We don't want to do that. Okay, so I have my student form all built out. I want to go on to my professor's form. And for this, I'm going to really just kind of duplicate the student information, but for the professors. And this will be auto-generated. Create my tab here. And as you can see, as we're creating these field names, our data display names are auto-populating for us. So we don't have to worry about filling that in addition to the other populating the other fields. Those are populated for us. If we wanted to change it, then we can do so, but they are auto-populated based on what you put in as the field name. Okay. And then marking these is required because I just want to make sure that this information is always entered. Okay. There's a couple more fields here. Our second row, put our rule in place. Oh. Address. And because the email address for the student and the professor, as well as the phone number, are on different forms, we don't need to worry about changing our data display name because it's going to actually be only applicable to those forms. So it's okay that our data display name is email address for both the student and the professor, with them being on separate forms. Okay. And then we will go ahead and create some fields. And actually, as I'm looking at this, I want to create one more form. It says, let's do. Okay, and I want to change the order of these forms real quick. So I'm going to go to order forms. I'm going to put classes above. There we go. Okay, so for my classes, I'm just going to add a couple of fields. The class code field. And lastly, I'm going to add our professor's name. So actually, in order to do that, I need to create a data source. So I'm going to come here to my data sources. This is going to be a form data source from the professors. And what I'm going to do, ID. Oh. This is how it's going to actually display in our drop-down list once we get to our application. Okay, so we're going to come back to our classes field. And if I wanted to, so right now I just have this as a standard drop down. If I wanted to, I could do a type ahead or a type and search. So if we had thousands of professors, that would be an easier option than having just a drop down. For the purpose of the demo, though, we'll just do a simple drop down. And put that one there. So then we'll go to our class registration form. For this, I'm going to need yet another data source, actually a couple. So before I start there, I'm going to add our data sources. So we need a student's name. Again, that data is pulling from the student form. So we're going to do first name, last name, and our student ID. And I'm also going to add a custom form for the semester for the class. So we have thing. Okay. Oops. It's back down here. So now we can build out our class registration form. I almost forgot. I also need our classes. So I need one more data source here. And this will be form. Okay, there we go. Now we can add our fields. So class. Okay. Sure. Let's see here, and then we're going to do our student. Okay, and then I just want to do 2 more fields here real quick. These are just going to be some check boxes. Yeah. Okay. So for that, we are going to go ahead and we need to configure our search pages really quickly. To email address. Remember, our search criteria does not need to match the search results, so we can just display different information in the results than what we actually searched for. Okay, let's do first name, last name, student ID, and we'll do an email address. Okay. Class code, class name, professor. Excuse me. Okay, so we're doing Mr. Let's search on textbook required, student paid. Do student class. All right, and one more thing I want to do here real quick before we publish. I want to actually change this class to a drop down with details. So I'm just going to click this show details. Go ahead and save, and then we are ready to publish. All right. Just a second here. Okay, so I have refreshed my ReAccess application. We now have all of our forms here. Going to enter just a couple records. We have some data here. Let's see. I'm going to new. Okay, gonna add a couple students here. Let's see. See here that I was getting that message that this is a required field. Okay, we'll add a couple classes. Okay, you can see here in our drop down that we've got our professor ID, our dash, and our professor name. Okay, so I've added a few classes here. So now we've got our class registrations. You can see we've got our semester, textbook required, tuition paid. So we will fill out a couple of these. So here, if I click our show details for the class information, it gives me our class code, class name, and it also shows me my professor and the professor ID. I'll put a couple of these in here real quick so I can show you an export also. All right, so now if I go back here, if I don't fill in any of my search criteria and just hit search, it's going to return nothing. So if I start with, actually, let's reset this here. Let's do textbook required. So you can see here I've got 2 students, 2 classes, textbook required. I do tuition paid. It's going to bring me up tuition paid and textbook required. And if I do tuition paid, then we've got our 2 history classes where the tuition's been paid and the textbook is not required. So if I wanted to do summer A, and so these are just the various ways that you can check for your search results. And again, I'm just going to clear these out real quick and do textbook required. So if I wanted to export these and see just at a quick glance, I could do reporting, if you will. Here, I already had a spreadsheet open with that name. So, but you could export this to an Excel spreadsheet and you could create reports out of it. You can see that these 2 students have not actually paid their tuition for their classes. So if I needed to reach out to them, I could reach out to them to let them know that they need to pay for their classes. And our second tab shows us who created the information, the records, who modified them, the classes, semester, student name, tuition paid, and if the textbook is required. And all right, we're gonna pause here for a few minutes to see if anybody has any questions. So be sure to join us next Tuesday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another episode of ReAccess Live, where we'll cover a new app template review. So we're gonna just do a review of all of our new app templates that are available. And on Tuesday, December 4th, we will go over the new registration page. For more information about ReAccess, be sure to follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter, or you can find us online at myreaccess.com. Thanks again for joining us, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.